Okay, now we are ready for our message. We'll skip the praise hymn, and I want to thank Dr. Bobe for coming today and giving us a message. Is not someone who's not new to everybody. We've known him, that he's been here several times, but we want to tell him that we appreciate him and that it will bring us the message this morning then.
Okay, a couple of things that's good. A few things out of the way. First thing is, I don't know how many times I've been back. But typically it works like this. If you go once, it's because they don't have anybody to speak. So they call you in to speak one time. If they call you back, they usually call you back because they don't want you to feel bad that you didn't do a very good job. So the second time doesn't mean a whole lot. If they call you back the third time, and I think it may be my third time, you've done a fairly decent job, so I feel pretty good already. Now let's make sure that we got a couple of things out of the way. Is that I believe that God is in control of everything that there is, but I also believe that we help ourselves. And my wife sent me out the door this morning as she was going to church. She said, "You make sure you deliver this to us, Dad." And I got news for you. I'm going to do everything I can to make my day good today. So I'm not going to forget that. I saw that sitting there. I like pink, but I didn't pick out the bag. But I need to deliver this to you, and I don't know what it is. I don't have any idea. I just know that I got instructions that I need to make sure and give it to you, and I'm going to make my Sunday better. And so there we go. I got that out of the way. So I'm doing pretty good right now. At least I don't know how I'm going to do on this sermon, but I'm going to go home to a happy wife, and that usually makes my day pretty good. Amen to that. That's right. I don't really know why I'm giving much of a talk this morning with regards to the sermon, because that was outstanding.
Amen.
Well, I thank you for that. 3 people from 1812 in your cemetery. Man, I stood up here in amazement. That's unbelievable.
Can I just say
You can. You sure
don't
can.
Don't thank me, and I don't like a Paul. Just thank who is the person. Who do you look up to? That's what I want people to think. Who do you look up to?
Amen to that. Amen to that. And now, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. I want to start off. Let me start it off like this. Typically, my day will go, my week actually, before I speak somewhere. And I actually was able to speak up at Carlisle, I think last Sunday. Typically, I'll write some things down during the course of the week, and then once I get some ideas written down of what God puts upon my heart to talk about, then usually on Saturday evening, I'll go through all my things that I've kind of written down, and then I'll kind of make some organization upon it, and then I'll talk about that. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Yesterday, or last night, and there's other people that were here, I happened to be at a place where a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Todd Donovan. Todd is, I got to hear him speak last night together. And I went home last night, and I'm just going to be real upfront with you. I didn't do much preparing at all. I was struck with humility. Todd is a little bit younger than me, and he's probably, if he's not one of my best, he is one of my best friends. I'd say he's in the top 3 of friends that I have. And we've had a lot of great times together, and Todd can no longer walk. He's got 3 kids like I do, and that guy, he has trouble sitting. If I brought him in here today, he'd have trouble sitting on a stool. He has MS, and it's just that. But his faith is so. He walks better than I do. Let me put it to you like that, because he walks in faith. And he was a true blessing to me. And so I apologize to you for that, because I had to spend a lot of time last night just in silence and just thoughts about that. So, what I'm telling you about today is that the preparation for today is not very good. I'm just going to lay that up front. And where I go and when I stop, I don't have any idea. So, I'm going to flip through some things, and let's go to the Lord in prayer real quick. Lord, I thank you for today already. I thank you for the great message that was given to us about patriotism and how we should look to you for answers. I ask that you be with me, Father. They don't want to hear words from a man. They want to hear words from you. As I've said so many times, that I can stand in front of people and I can change people for an hour. But it takes your grace and your Holy Spirit to change people for lifetimes. And that's where we need to put our praise and our glory, as was said earlier. Always giving praise back to you. this huge wall in my house that for a long time, I've lived there 10 years, for a long time there was nothing on it but paint. I like painted walls. I like them a lot. Because I know that when I hang pictures on walls, they have holes in them. And I don't like holes in my walls. Because someday the pictures will come down, and that means I have to fill them. So I like blank walls. But there was a time in my life where this wall was so big that where we sat and watched TV, that I wanted to fill it with pictures. Now my wife had a different idea about that, and she's filled it with things like words. I think there are about 7 or 8 different words. Forgiven is one of them. Grace is one of them. They're great, big, huge words that are on this wall. And it's probably better than the picture idea because it reminds me of things every single day that I sit in there. But I want to tell you about this, the reason I love pictures. And that's the reason I want to fill them with family pictures at different times. Because this is what I have a thought of heaven in my mind. When I die, and this may not happen, but maybe it'll happen for me because I like this. Maybe something else will happen to you. I have this picture of this long hallway or this gallery, and this gallery of pictures of people that have gone through time and that have made differences in your life. And you look and you can stop before you get into heaven. There are benches there that you can stop and you can look at those pictures and you can reflect on how they've changed your lives before you enter into it and understand all the lives that you've changed. And that's just a great thought because I could sit and look at pictures forever. And what you find in Hebrews chapter 11 is a gallery of faith people. And what I call it the Hall of Fame. And Hebrews 11, if you've never read Hebrews 11, let me tell you this. If I talk about everything that's in Hebrews 11, we're going to get out of here about the time school starts, and that's in a week from now. So I can't talk to you about all of that and bring it into the great depth of it. But I do want to mention some people with regards to Hebrews 11, and I would challenge you to read these stories, some of these stories in Hebrews 11. It's a great thing. The first thing I want to talk to you about, and it says in Hebrews 11, is this. And then I want to tell you what I believe. By faith. And it always starts off by faith. Every paragraph. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command. So that it was seen was not made out of what was visible. Don't forget that, what was not visible. Things that the world was made of, things were not visible. I'm going to tell you a story. Here's the story. Do you know how the Oxford Dictionary was created? Let me tell you how it was created. Many, many years ago there was an explosion of a print factory. And in this print factory, they were working on thousands and thousands of different articles, and there were words and letters. And in this explosion, they came in and they flooded this place with water, and they put the fire out. And when they got done, in the middle of this building, that was this print shop, was this book that had formed into this dictionary, this Webster dictionary, all on its own. Now, the absurdity of that, and you look at that, and I had you for a while because you were hooked in. I saw something. You were waiting for this. But the absurdity of that, I want you to understand something. The absurdity of that actually took place is the absurdity that you and I and your kids came from some smear gene pool that two things swam together, and that DNA all lined up. And this great big bang, this great big explosion caused us to have feelings like we have today. Now, I'm just here to tell you something. You should put that in that kind of perspective. All of you are looking at it and say, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that could have happened with the Webster Dictionary. But there are thoughts in your mind, and I'm not going to lie to you, there are thoughts in a lot of people's mind that big explosion and evolution could have taken place.
Yep.
And that's absurd.
Amen.
That's absolutely absurd. Just like the Webster's Dictionary being formed like that. And you put that together. It starts to make a little bit more sense to you. I tell people that all the time. That's craziness. Evolution. I don't understand something. We got monkeys and we've got human beings. Where are the people that are in between there? I guess sometimes I got a couple of boys I think sometimes that fall in that range. But the truth of the matter is if they would have evolved into that, why would we have a distinction of monkeys and why would we have a distinction of human beings? Where are the independent in between people?
Right.
And I think about that and I think I can't believe that people believe that. And by faith we just have to believe that God's done all of that.
Amen.
And that's by faith. The next one I want to talk to you about, it talks about, and I've got to pick who I talk about with regards to this because I'm going to run out of time. And you want to be out of here probably about 11:30. So I'll pick Cain and Abel. Let me talk about Cain and Abel there and there. They talk about Cain and Abel. I guess I could read it to you, and it says that, well, what happened was Adam and Eve had a couple of kids, and by faith Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain did. Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. Cain worked in the fields, Abel worked with livestock. Bottom line was, is they both offered up some sacrifices to the Lord, and one of them was pleasable to God, and one of them was not pleasable to God. Okay? And which one was pleasable to God? Anybody remember? Which one? Yeah, it was the livestock. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think it was because God loves bacon. I've never really thought that it was the livestock preparation was there, because I love bacon, but I don't think that's why God was. But I do want to tell you this, here's what worries me about that. They were both very pleasing and righteous to God. Both of those young men were. Now, you ask me, where am I going with that? One of the sacrifices was pleasing and one of them wasn't. And I'm here to tell you so. Both of those individuals were good individuals. Didn't turn out that way, but at that point in time, they were both good individuals. I'm going to tell you, they're going to be good individuals that do good deeds that are not going to help.
Right.
Now, you got to listen to me, because this is the most important thing. I know so many people in life that are so worried about doing good deeds in their life, then they think that that's going to get them in. And there are pagans out there, I'm telling you, that do lots of good deeds, and I mean great deeds. They're not getting in because they don't have a personal relationship with Jesus.
Amen.
Because they don't actually know who He is, because He's not a great friend to them. And I'm here to tell you something. Some of you, I'm not pointing any fingers because I don't know you, but if that worries you, if that concerns you, then you and I need to have a talk. You and Kathy need to have a talk. I've never met a guy. You know what's hard about going to Jesus? And I'm telling you, I don't know where this is going to end up, because things going to be... You know what's hard about Jesus is this. And this is what's hard about people going to prayer. And I want you to understand this. If you don't get anything out of this sermon, this is what's hit me the hardest. You know what's really hard about going to prayer? Is because constantly when we go to prayer, we have to go to God and we have to admit that we've done a lot of wrong things. And that's no fun. You think about your best friend. If you had to go to your best friend, and every single time that you had to start off your conversation with your best friend, you had to start off, and the first words out of your mouth had to be, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They wouldn't be your best friend. You'd find somebody else that you didn't have to say that to, because it's no fun saying I'm sorry. Here's what I got to get through to you. He loves talking to you.
Amen.
Quit feeling bad about going to Him in prayer and saying, I'm sorry, because that's not what He's there for. He understands that you sin, but He loves you.
Amen.
He wants to talk to you. He doesn't care about all that stuff. You care about that stuff. He doesn't. It's like a love that we're never... it's just hard to grasp. It's hard to put your arms around. Understand that. You don't get anything else out of that. Understand that. The next person I want to talk to you about with regards to this. I want to talk to you about Noah. One of my favorite people in the Bible is Noah. I could tell a whole sermon on that. Probably will someday if you ever call me back. Noah, I don't know what got into Noah. What kind of faith does it take? It says by faith about Noah. What kind of faith does it take to build an ark for 120 years without it even sprinkling? Now seriously, what I would do is if God told you to do that, you'd do it, but when would you start? You'd start when it started raining. And you would. And all of these, I picture all these coffee shops that are going on, and all of these people out there that are talking about Noah. And he said, no, I don't know about this guy. I know one thing. He's nuts. He's building this great big boat, but the bottom line is he believes in it. Because he's out there every day working on this boat. He's working on it every single day. And he believes in it. And he's got great faith. And Noah sat up there for 120 years. He preached. There's two things I want you to get out of this story. He preached for 120 years. First thing I want to tell you is what makes a guy do that. What makes a guy constantly say this? This is what he had to say to them. Hey, here's the deal. You come to know Jesus a little bit better. You get on your hands and knees and you ask for forgiveness. You get on this boat with me. I'll save you, because there's punishment coming to this earth, and I'm telling you it's going to be punished and it's going to be destroyed, but I got a place for you. You can get on this boat with me. And they said, blow it out your ear. I'm not getting on that stinking ark. Blow it out your ear. I'm not getting on that stinking ark. There's no chance for me on that ark. Why does he do that? Constantly, time and time again. Let me ask you a question. You don't have to be real smart, but why does Kathy do that? Comes in here every Sunday and tells you this. I'm telling you this right now, people, that the earth is going to come to an end. Amen. But I got a place for you, and you can get on this boat with me. And all you got to do is you got to come to me in faith, and you got to get on your hands and knees, and you got to ask for some forgiveness, and you got to understand Christ as your personal Savior. And you can get on this boat and you can be saved. It's the same exact story. But there's thousands of people that say, blow it out your ear, I ain't getting on that ark. I'm not going to get on my hands and knees. I tell you what you do. That's craziness. Here's what you need to do. You need to write. Tell me the check that I need to write to you. Tell me, I've done a lot of bad things. Tell me how much money I owe so I can fix that. That's what people want to do. Tell me what I got to do. I'll be on this committee. Tell me what I got to do, and I'll do it. But they won't get on their hands and knees and ask for forgiveness. That's what Noah did. You know the greatest thing that God ever did to Noah? Listen to this. The greatest thing that God ever did for Noah, and you read it in the Bible, when you read the story, it's a great story. The greatest thing that he ever did was he sealed the door.
Yes.
He sealed the door. You know why? Because Noah had a heart. And if he would have heard all those people screaming outside, beating on the outside of the door of that boat to get on the boat after the fact, and the Lord had it sealed off. And I hear that news for you. After the fact, it's too late.
Yes.
And in your life, after the fact, it's too late. I don't know how you sleep at night. I don't know how you lay your pillow down at night with your thoughts that you're not going to heaven. Because I got news for you. The statistics are good at this. There are one out of every one people dies in this world. They're pretty good. And here's the three options you have. You have three options. Number one, you can go to heaven. Number two, you can go to hell. Number three, you can believe in neither one of those and believe you're going to spend your time in the box. You pick one of the three that sounds the best to you. It's that simple. I have people all the time say, I don't believe you go to heaven or hell. They come up to me and say, I don't believe in that. I say, well, what's your alternative? And they say, well, I heard you just died. Okay, well, if you just died, guess what? You're going to stay in the box. And if you're right, you're going to stay in the box, and I'm going to stay in the box. But if I'm right, and you're wrong, I get to spend a life in eternity in heaven.
Amen.
And you get to spend it in hell. And I'm not talking about a short vacation in hell. I'm talking about an eternity. I don't know how you sleep at night if you don't really know where you're headed. I just don't know how people do that. Because there's a lot of people in here that can testify that you don't know when your time's coming. Next story is about Enoch. The one I want to talk to you about. I like Enoch a lot. And he's a great guy. It's a great story. Let me see if I can find him in here somewhere. I think it was earlier. Enoch was one of those guys, actually he was a little bit before Noah, but he was a guy that he walked with God for 300 years. Let me read this to you. He said that he walked with God 300 years, but Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found. If you go back to chapter 5, if you don't know who Enoch is, a lot of people don't, in verses 21, you'll find chapter 5 in Genesis, verse 21, talks about Enoch, talks about how he lived 300 years, and he lived to be 365 years old. That's how old he lived. And it talks about, in there, if you read the scripture in Enoch, it talks about something happened in his life that actually, not in the Hebrews, it doesn't talk about, but in the actual story, something had happened in his life that made him start following God. Do you guys know what that was? Huh? It was the birth of Methuselah. And you read about that, and he had a child, and after that it says that he walked with God for 300 years. Now I want you to think about that for a little bit. There's two things I want you to get out of this story, great things. Something usually happens to people. Some of these hippies that were out there thought that they were going to live in a world with all these all these bands and all these things, and then all of a sudden you end up having a child, and you end up looking at that child, and you think to yourself, and all these parents out here know, and you young people are going to understand it one day, but all the parents out there know that when you look at the face of this child, you realize that there has to be more in this life than just what's happening to you. That happens to people that have children. And that's what happened to Enoch. Enoch had a child. There's got to be more to this life than it. And so he began to follow God. And he followed him for 300 years. The second thing I want you to get out of this with Enoch is two things. One is that he had 65 years that he had his life without God. And he had 300 years that he had it with him. He had 2 liars in his life, one without God and one with God. Do you have 2 liars in your life? Because I do. And if you don't have 2 volumes in your life, then you really don't know who God is. Because it takes a personal acceptance of Him in your life. It takes that absolute acceptance. And you got to personally accept Him. And then you understand the peace that Enoch understood. And he walked with Him for 300 years. And here's the truth. Enoch, I want to write this down if you want to, because this is important. Enoch's, you know what changed with Enoch? Not his company, but his environment. He lived 300 years with God. His environment changed, but his company didn't change. He still spent it with God. That's important. All right, I'm down to 6 minutes left. I'm going to pass up on a lot of them, but I want to talk to you about the 3 pictures in here that they talk about with Moses. Because I think these are probably the 3 most important. If I was coming back, I would probably soon, and I knew I was coming back soon, I'd probably stay online, but I'm not. I'm going to try to finish it. I got 5 minutes, 6 minutes left, and it'll take every bit of 6 minutes to finish these up, so I'll probably never start talking about it. Let's talk about Moses. Let's talk about Moses. Let's talk about that story. If you've not read that story before, you need, or if you've never heard the story, some of you have heard the story, but if you've not read it in a while, you need to figure it out. I got jazzed reading about it this week. I mean, I had no idea it, but man, I got thinking about it. What a great story it is. Here it is. These 2 people, and I can't mention their names, it's unfortunate names, but they had a child. It's unfortunate. Their names are really, I don't know where they came from. They're a little unfortunate. Once you read about it, they ended up having a child. They had this child, and they had Moses. And there was an edict that came down from the king. And they said all these men were going to get killed. All the firstborn. Sons. Not daughters, sons. Were going to be killed. These 2 people had a child. They looked upon this child, and they said, this is a great child. We don't want to get rid of him. We don't want to kill him. We're not going to turn him over. We're going to hide him. And they hid him. For 3 months they hid him in the cupboard. Now you think about this story for a minute. Just think about it. And then all of a sudden his sister, one day, they heard that the king's men were coming. So his sister took him out to the bulrushes. And what the bulrushes are big tall weeds. And there's this, and they usually grow in the water. And there's water out there. And he took him out in this basket. This basket was a clothes basket. It talks about that in the Bible. It being a clothes basket. And they lay this child down in this basket, in these weeds, and they hide him in there. And his sister hides him in there as the king's men are coming up to the buildings. And all of a sudden, here comes an entourage of people. One of them happens to be Pharaoh's sister. She comes down with all of her entourage of people. Finds this basket that's covered up. Opens it up. Finds this child. Decides she wants to keep it. Then the sister ends up finding Pharaoh's sister with regards to this and finds him and says, here it is right here. We've got this child. Said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go find a Hebrew woman to nurse him. And she comes back with his exact mother. And his mother gets to nurse him. And she nurses him and brings him up into childhood and is with him every single day. And then it's turned over into Pharaoh's kingdom. God is so good. He works out all the details.
Amen.
Listen to that. They hid him in a cupboard. They put him in the water. In a basket. In the weeds. And Pharaoh finds him. And they find him in this basket and they keep him. And they get his mother to nurse him. And to raise him. And then he ends up in Pharaoh's house. And he never gets killed. Don't be way in the lake at night tossing and turning and worrying about your future. Listen to me. The absurdity of that story. And you're worried about what happened last week. Or what's going to happen next week. Now, let's just stop doing that. I got news for you. God didn't come off the throne.
Amen.
He's still got everything under control.
Yes.
And then the next picture of Moses is like this. He's got it made. He's a grown man. He's good looking. He's got everything he wants. He's got the greatest chariot, turbo in it. I mean, he's got this great chariot that he's in. He's got all the things that he wants to eat. And finally, he looks at him and says, I just can't do this anymore. The Israelites are killing my people. I got to make a choice here. And he leaves this comfort. Now look at me, because this is important. Look at me here. This is important. He had to make a decision, just like I talked about earlier. I'm going to ask you this. You're going to sit here and you're going to leave this church and you're going to go out there and you're going to laugh at the world's jokes. You're going to get involved in all the things that the world does. Or are you going to take a stand? Moses took a stand. Moses said, I can't do this. God says you can't be part of this world and part of mine at the same time. I got news for you. Look at me. Since I started talking, since I started preaching, my friends have changed. I'm sorry. I love them like brothers and sisters. But I don't get invited to the parties I used to get invited to. People look at me differently. People look at me and they treat me differently since I've done this. And it's been for many years now. It's just different. But I had to make a choice. I had to make a spiritual choice in my life. Am I going to laugh at the world's jokes? Am I going to be part of the world? Am I going to go play golf and cuss with all my buddies? Am I going to take a stand against that? And I fall short every single day. Let's not get out of that realm. I fall short just like you do. But the truth of the matter is, you've got to make it. And if you've not decided that you're going to make that choice, here's the bad news for you. This is why I won't get invited back for the fourth time. This is exactly why I won't get invited back. Because I'm going to tell you this. If you've not made a choice in your life, or if you're not willing to stand up and confess with your mouth to people that you know of what God means to you, then you're probably not a Christian. I'm sorry.
Right. Amen.
I'm sorry. And you're probably not going to make it. If you're not willing to talk about it in a public profession, you're probably not going to make it. I'm sorry. Because God makes you proud. What He does is He makes, once you finally accept Him in your life, He makes you want to talk about things like that. Because it makes you happy. And finally, it's this. The final picture is this with Moses. And I got 1 minute. It's Moses above a blood-stained door. There's this blood-stained door. And it's called the Passover. And some of you know what the Passover is, some of you may not, so I'm going to bring you up to date on that. The bottom line is this edict came down that all these people were going to get killed. The firstborn was going to get killed. All right, everybody got that? Firstborn. So what they did was they came in and they said, God gave him instructions, Moses' instructions. He says, I want you to take the first lamb and I want you to sacrifice him and I want you to take the blood and this Esau, I think is the name, how you pronounce it, Esau. I want you to take it, I want you to dip it down in the blood. And if you are a follower of God, I want you to take that and I want you to rub that blood above your doorstep, above your door. And what happens is how they came up with the word Passover is it's because the angel of death is coming through. And he's going to come through this town, he's going to sweep through this town. And if he comes through and he sees that this blood of this first lamb is above the door, above the entryway, if he sees it, he will pass over. The angel of death will pass over that house and he will not kill anyone. He will not kill the firstborn. That's how they came up with the word Passover. And they still celebrate it today.
Amen.
Listen to that. Listen real quick. I want you to take and kill one. That was not easy. There was a lot of poor people. This was going to be expensive. I want you to dip that Esau in blood. I want you to stain above the door. And the angel of mercy. That was the instructions. And that's craziness. That is absolute craziness. If you're sitting there listening to Moses tell you that story, you're looking at that and you're saying, man, what a story. That's crazy. And I'm here to tell you this. That day, that was the only way that the angel of death is going to pass over. And I'm here to tell you today. That blood-stained door saved those people. That blood-stained cross will save you today.
Amen.
It's craziness that people think. People look at that and say, what do you mean that God died on a cross for me? That's craziness. That story's crazy. Just like they said that story was crazy and didn't want to do it. And the angel of death did exactly what he said. He took them. And I'm telling you, if you don't understand that cross, and you don't understand what that blood that we sang about today is all about, the angel of death will take you also. That's a harsh word. I picture this one last picture of heaven. And it's a mirror of people that have made it in. This huge mural of people. I got to look at y'all and I got to tell you something. Is your picture on that mural? I got to ask you that question. That's part of my job. My picture's on there already. I'm not there, and I'm telling you my picture's on there. Now, it may be a little bitty. It may not be a great, I may not have a whole little picture by myself. In fact, I think that some of you may look at it and you may say to yourself, yeah, but you don't understand me. I'm a doubting Thomas, I know. And you can stand right next to Thomas, and your picture will be right next to Thomas's when you get there. Yeah, but I made a mess of things. I didn't believe in things. I have put him off to the side. I have denied him, and I got news for you. They'll stick your picture right next to Peter's. So understand how important it is. And I got news for you. That little bitty picture that I got of myself on that wall, I'll take it. I'll take it for what the alternative is.
Amen.
Heaven's a great place. I know it has to be. Because God wouldn't live in a place that wasn't. With the grace that He provides to us every single day. The greatest thing is, He doesn't give you grace because you deserve it. Because if He did, we'd never get it. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for words and messages and stories in your Bible and just places to be, and just, gosh, I just thank you for that. Thank you for being with me. I pray for Todd. I pray for all the people here. Gosh. I thank you so much for grace. I ask, Father, that you would make us bold, even understanding that a confession of faith is important to you. It's important for our salvation. We may not make it in Hebrews chapter 11. We may not make that great wall or that hall of fame. But what we can do, Father, is we can make it into a glorious place like heaven. And I thank you so much for your presence here today. I ask for mercy on all of us as we leave. Continue to provide that unfailing love that you only you can give us, and that sense of peace that only comes from you. All in your holy and precious name, Father. Amen.
He is Lord. He is Lord. He is risen from the dead, and He